when Harold retired in 1975, uh, I wasn't old enough quite to put for my retirement. I had one more year because he's a year older than I am. Uh, so I we waited. Then I taught for one more year after he retired, and during that year, it was good because what he did all kinds of things in the house. He repapered, rooms in the house, and he did all kinds of things that needed doing in the house. And so he did that because I was out all day, and he just had the house to himself for a whole year. Well, we thought as we got older, it would be easier for us to travel that way. When before we got too old and decrepit. I was still doing all the stuff in the house. Well, no, no, I got into garden club and college club. Uh, College club. Now, college club was an organization that started back in the 1800s. In order to join, you had to be a college graduate. Now, you see, back in those days, there weren't many women who went to college. So you see, it was a group of women who got together and they had programs and, more or less uplifting. You. Well, anyway, that's the way this now it's much more down to earth. As a matter of fact, yes, well, I got a bouquet of flowers from them this year. On yeah, and a picture of the members of the club today. So I joined the year I retired. I joined different towns. It was called the South Shore College Women's Association. It's still called that. Should be, but anyway, they met in different towns on the South Shore of Long Island. So you see, it was an organization open only to college women. The main thing that we did was to have scholarships for college women, young girls going to college, which is still the main thing. We still give scholarships to women going to college, and and today it's more of an we don't have programs and all like we used to. And first it was program each month and with a speaker and so a paid speaker and whatnot. And then it got more opened up, how things change over the years. Oh, well, that's you have meetings once a week and you learn all these things, ecology and all this kind of stuff. It's still going on with all this stuff. You put on flower shows where you teach people. Flower show isn't just to get ribbons, it's to teach people at the show what things are, about the different plants and flowers and all this. It really is supposed to be a teaching project, not only flower shows. We do get ribbons. I got a lot of ribbons. Each when you get elected to a presidency, it's for 2 years, and I stayed on for a second term. So I was president for 4 years. I got my arm twisted. I was president of the college women's club too, but that was only 1 year. Uh, that was the case of you take your turn at it. So I got really involved in garden club and in college club. Those two were my main. And then I also did volunteer work, like uh, I volunteered for uh, the Sable Cabinet for the Sick. This was an organization that had things that you could lend to people without any money. Uh, if you needed a hospital bed, if you needed a wheelchair, any kind of still sick room equipment, and it was all on a volunteer basis. We all volunteered to do this, and, whatever was needed, people would donate things. And once a year, they would send out letters asking people to donate. I think it was $1 or something, so that they could buy things that they didn't have. It was very there wasn't, it was a long time ago, so things didn't cost that much. And when you could take this and keep it for as long as you needed it and not pay any money. When you were through with it, you bring it back so someone else could use it. Well, you usually had, like um, cabinet for the sick is what they called it. It was started by a woman who started collecting things and kept them in her garage. Finally, we have a building though that has it now, but I don't work at it anymore. It's been a number of years since I. But after Harold retired, the gal that always sat with, the two of us always had. So you'd have two people. So if one had to go and get something, say a wheelchair and help them get out into the car and all that kind of stuff, there'd be somebody there to answer the phone too. So I had someone work with me. Well, she died. I didn't have a partner anymore. Harold says, "Oh, I'll be your partner." So then he took that on then too. That was funny because the superintendent of schools then, Harold and me and the superintendent of schools and his wife and Charlie Carpenter, you may have heard us talk about him. He was Harold's assistant. The six of us got to be really good friends. And we would go out to dinner together and eat at each other's homes and all this kind of stuff. So the six of us were doing all this stuff always together. Well, after Harold retired, Dave, who was the superintendent, said to Harold, how would you like to, be part of I forget what you called it. Yeah, the board of education would be more or less, and they would have. So he said, "How would you like to, do that?" And he thought he was doing doing Dave a favor. So he said, "Yeah, I guess I could do that." So I said, "You'd have to sign the checks once a month, all this kind of stuff." So Harold, sure, I could do that. Well, all of a sudden, he had done this for a month or so, and all of a sudden, Harold got a check, and he said to Dave, "What's the check for?" And he said, "Well, that's your pay for doing it." And it wasn't an awful lot of money, but Harold thought he was doing Dave a favor by doing and getting on the board, and instead it was a little paying job. It was that and the library. He did both, the library and the Board of Education of the, school. He was signing checks of both of them and going to the meeting once a month. So it was that entailed that. But and all of a sudden he found out he was getting paid for it, and he thought he was doing a good job to help his friend Dave. So he didn't really start playing golf until he retired. And then he had, uh, some other retired fellows, and there were always 4, and there was always someone that could play to fill out the foursome. And, they would go once a week. They had, uh, uh, different people, uh, different, people would say where they were gonna play golf. And whoever did that would drive the 4. Oh, and if we got a new car, Harold said the most important part of it was, "Is the trunk big enough to hold 4 golf bags?" That was one of the first things he looked at when we got a new car. Is the trunk big enough for 4 golf bags? Yeah, that's right. But, he had a very nice group of men who played every week together until they couldn't anymore. But, he enjoyed well, he never played before. I mean, he never took any lessons and he was pretty good at it. I mean, he was Oh, not a real, yeah, you get better as you go along. Well, he did, and he played with fellows who were, like, on par with him, you know? Well, we both always liked the water. We liked going to the beach, and, we decided, "Well, heck, we have time now and all. Let's put in a pool," which we did, which we enjoyed very much. And, of course, the kids were grown up pretty much by time, but they came and they brought, their children too. I'm trying to think which came first, the pool or or the boat. Uh, well, Harold always liked sailboats, so, knew he always wanted a boat, etc. When he was a child, he and a friend of his built a sailboat, a little one, and, which he enjoyed, I guess. But, he knew that he wanted a boat, and so he did. There was, I guess, a boat for sale. It was a 19-foot Mariner is the name of the boat that he bought. I was never very fond of boats, but he loved sailing. I liked the boat that when he had it, if we'd go over to Fire Island, but just to go sailing, that wasn't my cup of tea. He knew it. He often would go out by himself. Huntington was the sailing town, see? And I guess boys like that just naturally learned how to sail. He never took lessons or anything, but he always read a lot about anything. Anything he was interested in, he read. So maybe he read a lot about sailing, I don't know. The boat, let's see, did he have that after retirement? Oh golly. I guess maybe it was, because I can remember one time Judy Ann saying, "You did all these things after we were gone, after we weren't in the house anymore. You got a boat, you got a pool, you traveled all over the world." So I said to her, "Well, we could afford it then. We put you through school, we gave you weddings, we bought you cars." So we could afford then to spend it on ourselves.